Folks, how are you? Different twist on a bit of a segment that I want to start doing every so often, maybe once every week, once every 2 weeks. We'll see how it plays out. We'll start kind of dipping our toes in the proverbial waters to see how they end up playing out. And I'll be answering some questions in regards to South American football, in regards to opinions that I have, whatever. So make sure you send them. You can send the questions and the replies here. I'll do another video on them, and of course I'll grab things from other platforms such as X, such as Instagram, etc., etc., etc. But I already have a couple of questions in regard, and in regards to all this, and it will be interesting to answer those questions that are kind of intriguing. And there's been a lot of intrigue in terms of South American football and in terms of football in general over the past couple of days. The first question we look at is Sam Marks. Thanks, man. I appreciate you asking. I think I answered the question on social media, but I needed to give a more extended answer based on the character limitations, and me being too lazy to sometimes type. So the short answer sometimes isn't enough. So reason why I'm making this type of segment. So it ends up kind of avoiding any misunderstandings or further understanding of it does offer a further understanding on the topic. And his question is, how come this game was played at the Estadio Mario Kempes? Or was it a cup match and it needed a neutral venue? And of course, he's talking about the Super Clásico in which Boca beat River 3-2. It was exactly as you said. It was a cup match or a cup format. It's kind of weird because it's a league. It's a league title that's given officially. And Colón realized that. Colón, back in 2021, when this format began, it was called Copa de la Liga, the League Cup. And when you associate League Cup, you end up thinking, I don't know, the Carabao Cup or something along those lines, a league format type of cup. And it kind of isn't. It's a format where you have two different groups, 14 on each side. Of course, keep in mind there's 28 teams in Argentine football, and everyone plays everyone in one group, and there's one round where it's an interzonal group. In other words, it's a Clásico round. That's where all the Clásicos are played, mostly. I'll put a little caveat there because there's certain rivalries. For example, the Cordoba sides do not play each other, or obviously there's three teams, and in one round, three teams can't play each other, obviously. But you end up having a, in that case, Instituto plays Belgrano or Belgrano plays Talleres. And then later on in that tournament, the other tie ends up being played. It's not a Clásico in the Clásico round, but again, make it make sense. So, league format, cup, name, like I said, league format, league title that is given. You win a league title in if you end up winning the Copa de la Liga, and it ends up being more abbreviated because if not, again, it's one of many, many, many format changes that have gone. You can go in even the past decade. There's been format changes throughout in terms of the Argentine league, and it seems almost as frequent as Copa Americas. And kind of biennially or even quadrennially, we have changes in terms of formats in terms of the Argentine league. Like I said, don't try and understand it. Don't try and make it make sense. Just kind of go with the flow and enjoy it. I mean, that's the only thing I can tell you. So that's now with the cup format. Well, and it doesn't make sense because there's still seedings, and a team comes in with a home advantage, which was the case. River were the home team yesterday at the Mario Kempes. Estudiantes played, I think Estudiantes played in Platense. There was a match played at Platense Estudiantes, and Vélez didn't play at home either. Godoy Cruz wasn't playing at home. So it wasn't just Boca River. It was the entire quarterfinal was played over at at different stadiums, neutral venues, if you will, but there was a home team. the home team ended up getting the higher amount of allocation in terms of tickets. In River's case, I think it was 28,000. Boca had 25,000, and there was a lung. Again, that's always going to be something that I mention on several occasions, especially when you have teams, when you have two fan bases, two teams, and of course in Argentine football, the away teams aren't allowed. Okay, bless you. So again, it's kind of weird. It's an anomaly because in Argentine football, when you play at a venue, let's say you play at El Monumental, there aren't away fans allowed. You can sneak in, and it's to your peril, man, because that's not something you want to be. You don't want to be one whatever fan amongst 80,000+, or you go to La Bombonera, one away fan in the middle of 50,000+ Boca fans, or Racing, or Independiente, whatever the case may be. So there's that. There's the away, neutral fans, away fans, which is something that Juan Román Riquelme wants to bring back, the away fans. Now I digress in terms of the format. So, like I said before, cup tournament, league format, league title, and that's where basically the Copa de la Liga is. My next question comes from Kevin Williams, and he talks about no goal line tech in this Clásico either, eh? Of course, he's making reference to what happened between Real Madrid and Barcelona, and they too had an issue with goal line technology, whether a goal was in, whether a goal wasn't in. And of course, we saw what happened in the Super Clásico in the second half. Ball that ends up just bouncing around. It tries to get cleared out. It bounces off of Christian Lema. The ball ricochets towards goal. Chiquito Romero grabs the ball, pulls it away. It was ruled a goal. And of course, the VAR audio for it came out. And this is what happened.
Atrás, ese viene bien. Blanco. Blanco.
Todo ok.
Posible dentro fuera.
Es gol, es gol, dio gol. Dio gol,
Bien.
la saca de adentro.
Dame la minicam. Dame la minicam. Dale.
Oh,
Dale.
dio
poquito,
gol,
un cuadro antes, un cuadro antes.
la saca de adentro, dijo.
Uno más. Dale.
Hacé zoom. Haceme zoom ahí. Más.
Para mí no entró.
Sí.
Para mí no entró. Sí.
Dame otra. Ahí
tenemos la baja ahí, la que está atrás, esa la baja.
Tranquilo, Yael, soy el gato, la estamos mirando, es dura, ¿eh?
¿Y la que estemos a media altura? ¿Y este es el punto de contacto que dimos recién? Dame un cuadro más ahí.
Déjame salir, sacalo. Salí. Marco, no, andate allá.
La opuesta de la 6.
Gastón, está chequeando
La apuesta de la 6. Esa, mirá.
Gastón, Yael.
La apuesta de la 6.
Gastón.
Esa. Dale, un cuadro más, largala. Un cuadro menos. Un cuadro menos.
Gastón, soy Yael, ¿me escuchás?
Un cuadro más.
Te escucho, Yael,
más.
la estamos mirando, es muy ajustada, ¿eh?
El dentro fuera.
Exactamente, el dentro fuera.
Ok, contestame lo que yo te pregunto, Gastón.
Dale,
Gastón,
dentro fuera, dale.
Una más.
Están fijándose si entró o no entró,
menos.
está bien, tranquilo.
Ese es el punto de contacto.
No hay falta, están fijando
La minicama ahí.
No, ¿qué, Luis? ¿Dónde te agarras? Luis, está fijando si entró o no entró, dejá trabajar. No, está fijando si entró o no entró. Anda ya. Salí, mi Luis, salí.
Gato, fíjate además, el APP puede de confirmar si entró o no entró, lógicamente, en el caso que haya entrado, alguna situación previa.
Ok, Yael.
Ignacio. Sí.
Para nosotros no gol, el balón no ingresa, ¿está?
Okay.
No ingresa
Vamos
totalmente.
Bota tierra entonces. Vamos,
Pero
bota
no
tierra. Bota tierra, Ignacio.
Sí,
Ignacio,
Yael,
¿me
bota
escuchás?
tierra.
Bien, condición
Sí,
completa.
perfecto.
So as you can tell, it was a major mess, and well, it was controversial. Some to this point. Well, even we can even apply it. If I were talking about the Clásico in Spain, maybe the same thing could be also mentioned to a certain extent, and even the same score. So there was a lot of similarities into that as well. But when you start talking about the goal line technology, as of right now, I recall there's only 4 or 5 leagues that have it. It's not something that's cheap. And in Argent now, what you have to do, you have to be able to install around 14 cameras in order to apply this technology. You have to make an investment somewhere along $260,000. I'm sorry, I'm looking for my notes as I speak. $260,000 or euros, I should say, excuse me, for per stadium. So now let's do the math. So it's 26 or what I said, $26,000 or 26,000 euros, I should say, per times 28. That's just the installation of goal line technology. And then when you look at it from another perspective, it's somewhere around 4,000 euros to use it on game day. So in total, it ends up being around 9 million euros to not only implement, but also to execute it and use goal line technology. Again, I'll use La Liga as an example. And La Liga would be much less because, keep in mind, in La Liga, there's only 20 teams. And that ends up being something that kind of is a big difference maker in terms of a budget. But also keep in mind, this is not only, I'm only talking about first division. I'm not talking about the implementation of it in the lower divisions. That also ends up being a caveat. Do you do that? Do you not do it? Is it something that you're going to do? Is it something that you use in the cup? And now when I'm talking about cup this time, I'm talking about like Copa del Rey, FA Cup, Copa Argentina, those types of things. That's what I'm talking about. Do you implement it there? That's a big question. All that being said, it ends up being around 9 million euros. The Argentine national team earns somewhere around $100 million a year on sponsorships. That's how much money they generate. 100 million. Now, do you think they can fork over 10% of that and invest it back into the league and bring back technology and use that technology for the better use of pitches, better use of technology, better use of whatever it may be? I think that's not a bad investment, if you ask me. Now, how that it gets invested, that's interesting. Because now, what I also want to add is that VAR, how it's implemented in Argentina, ends up being a bit unique, maybe. But what ends up happening here is that depending on the stadium is the amount of cameras that are used in now, if it's at the Monumental or La Bombonera, they'll usually have 12, 13, 14, 15 cameras, whatever the number is. I think it's something like 12 that they use. Now, at a venue like Riestra, where it's maybe about 3,000, it's in normal circumstances, Riestra Stadium wouldn't even be sanctioned for second division. Or it was sanctioned for second division, but it wouldn't be definitely sanctioned for first. But if you see it, you'd end up understanding exactly what I'm talking about. There you only have 6 cameras at Riestra. So what do you do? And not only that, you have to implement 14 cameras just for goal line technology. It ends up being a tough ask. There's some that have 8, excuse me. Like I said, Boca River, those have the full dock. Those have everything. The maximum complement of cameras. That's the easy part there. It's when you start going to the teams lower and lower in terms of the echelon of hierarchy, and when you start going to the second and third tier teams in terms of popularity and in terms of revenue, that ends up being a problem. And then on top of that, start annually looking at the maintenance of this. It's a pretty penny. Now, I'm not saying that the Argentine Federation can't afford it. The federation that at one point was almost bankrupt and now, over the past few years, is now a multi-million-dollar operation. I think they could do it. But is there that desire to do so, knowing that in Spain, in La Liga, Javier Tebas, the president of La Liga, has said, no, we're not interested in that. And I think in La Liga, it's something less. It's something around 3 to 6 million that ends up being the cost of implementation of goal line technology. So that ends up being the big question mark. Is there the willingness to do the financial willingness to do it, and also the political willingness to do it? That ends up being the big question. So guys, I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope that I do bring some more information. And if I don't know it, I'll find somebody that does. That'll be something that I'll look to do on a consistent basis. Make sure you send the videos. Make sure you send, well, you can send videos too if you want. But you can send whatever comments, reply here, send anything on social media. And I'll try and have another segment in a couple of weeks, gathering up information and being able to send it to you. All right, guys. So, do the usuals, guys. Talk to you soon. Ciao.